Texas Assistant Attorney General Krista Melton is here to talk about an issue that is not always easy to discuss, but one that is very important, and it has to do with human trafficking. A unit that was formed earlier this year, how it's helping to combat what is a $150 billion problem?
Absolutely.
Tell me about this.
Well, if you think about human trafficking broadly, the best way to think about it is modern day slavery. It doesn't matter what industry you are enslaved in, whether that is the sex side of things or whether that is forced labor in agriculture, construction, food processing, or any number of other industries. We've got victims who are men, victims who are women, victims who are adults, and victims who are children.
So with the creation of this unit, how is it actually combating this problem that seems to be so widespread?
The unit is doing several things. One, it's staffed up to have multiple attorneys and investigators, so we are actually investigating cases and preparing them for prosecution and going forward against perpetrators. But second of all, it is really working with all sorts of groups in the community to educate and make them aware of the issue, help them to know where to report it and what to do, because human trafficking victims do not always come forward. They don't self-identify, so people need to be aware of what they're seeing to help those victims eventually be rescued.
And one group that you are working with is the trucking industry. Explain to me that partnership.
Absolutely. Truckers Against Trafficking is a 501c3 nonprofit that brings together the trucking industry and law enforcement. TAT, or Truckers Against Trafficking, is designed to equip, empower, educate, and mobilize the trucking industry in the fight against human trafficking. And so what it's done is it has taken this industry, which are really the eyes and ears of the nation's highways, and it has set them to looking for human trafficking, helping them to know what it looks like in their areas, and then helping them to know how to report. And so there are truckers all across this country that are calling in to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Rescues have occurred as a result of this education that they are doing. So the Texas Attorney General's office has joined with TAT and the Texas Trucking Association. We're having 5 coalition builds around the state of Texas to bring trucking and law enforcement together to make them more effective in the fight against trafficking.
And Krista, what do the signs look like then? So when somebody sees something, what should they be looking out for to make sure that they call as well?
Absolutely. So red flags are going to vary for whether it's sex or labor, but oftentimes you'll have people who aren't free to speak for themselves, people who look fearful. You may have kids with, for instance, multiple social media or phone accounts beyond what is authorized by a parent. You will see sometimes signs of domestic violence or visible injuries, cigarette burns, marks, bruising. You may see situations where people, for instance, in a truck stop situation, you may see cars that are bringing people in and dropping them off. You may see people who are dressed inappropriately for the weather. In doctors' offices, when we train them, we talk about the fact that you may see kids coming in with people who aren't related to them, and where the kids aren't being able to share what they're being brought in for. So there's different signs depending upon the different contexts.
When you say kids, what ages are we talking about? I mean, as a parent, that terrifies me.
We're talking about kids, in the cases that I've dealt with, from 11 all the way up to 18.
Oh my.
So there are younger kids as well, but I'm just speaking from the cases that I've personally handled. And
Texas is not unique to this problem, but we do have a very big problem in the state of Texas with human trafficking, right?
We do. One of the big things about trafficking is that people often think it happens somewhere else, but in reality it is happening here in the state of Texas, and it's happening in both our cities and our rural areas. We are second highest in the country for the number of calls to the human trafficking hotline, and we have a substantial number of cases that are growing throughout the state.
Okay, and that hotline you can find on your website, right?
You can. You can find the 1-800 hotline there, but you can also find my number if you have questions about cases that you have concerns with, and you can also report to DPS. But if someone you believe is in immediate danger, you've got to call 911 and tell them what you think. Make the call.
We have on our website some investigations into human trafficking as well, so you can go to our website. We'll link you up to the AG's website as well. Thank you for going after these people.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.